Welcome back everybody. Something different. Over the years, Modushop, they make cases, they're Italian, a lot of people use them, but there's no YouTube videos on a build, so I'm going to rectify this. So I ordered a couple of cases and they come flat packed like this. Numbers, the bits that you need. That'll focus. There they are, and there's the costs, giving a total of £245. Or sorry, euros. That's euros. 245 euros. And in the UK, there's an additional shipping charge, which equates to about £55 on top of this, which you have to pay DHL to get it imported into the country. So it's a matter of just putting it all together really. Some more screws for something else. So that's for the front plate, I think. You can also have handles on the front, but I've never bothered with that. So you got some side rails, a back panel which I've got to cut out an IEC, an inlet and some speaker outlets. Nice finish. I think it's powder coated, but it looks quite durable. The heat sinks, and you attach one rail there, one rail there, and for that we're going to break out some screws. I think they're in there, yes, and this packet here with the feet, there's plenty of them. Blimey. Better to have too many than not enough. So these are just, I think these are Japanese type screws, heads. Yeah, I think they are, but this will do for now. And you just screw it together. What I'm suggesting is you don't screw it up tight all the way initially. Loose fit it. And one of my findings, if you like, over the years using this, the heat sinks in the deep cases, these 450 deep cases, comes in two sections. So the heat sink might be a 400 by 400, so it's still in two sections. And something I've found over the years is the disparity. I'll call it a disparity, it's probably the wrong word, but the heat transfer across the heat sinks is not uniform. What I mean by that, if the heat, although it looks like one heat sink, it's not, it's two. And in some cases there might be more heat dissipated through one than there is in the other. I'm also going to suggest that you double check that these are the right ones, because this section here may not line up with the corner. Once you've put the screw in, there may be a gap here. So double check that these are, I think they're not paired, they're just manufactured, but they do fit in a specific way, or I found. As you can see, this, what you've got to do is make sure everything is exactly lined up, so everything is level and in alignment with the heatsink. So what we're going to do is just pop these in here. And I'm going to align, just by finger, align this edge here. You can see this moves about a bit. Make sure this is square with the heatsink, so that when you pop the lids on and the chassis, it all lines up correctly. Otherwise it's all just a little bit skew whiff. just like that. Now at this juncture, as I said, there's to get these two to work together, in my opinion, you need a little bit of heat paste or cement just to bond these two together, just to make sure they couple so that the heat can transfer. So I just smear a bit of paste on there, wipe your hand, and this one butts up nicely, and you have got, I'm looking there, and there's only that much thermal paste attaching itself, so we'll just put another little splodge on there like that, and that way you get an even spread of heat, especially when you use it. That's better. I can feel that's nicely, and you'll see that these don't exactly line up, which is why I'm saying don't do these up 100% at the beginning like me. Like that. And you see these just move around, so you just got to get them as centered or as square as you possibly can. And we'll carry on dropping these in, and we're using these, I think they're 6mm long, these little Phillips or Jap head screws. Again, I'm just lining everything up with my fingers, nipping that one up. Just going to nip this one up, line it up, nip it up, make sure they're together, nip it up, nip it up, square that one off a little bit, nip it up. It's just a, you don't have to graunch them together, but we can see there that one needs a little bit more persuading. That's better. That's better. You can see it spreading, not so much down through there, but something's better than nothing, as they say. Wipe that off. Lovely. So that's one side. I'll repeat the process on the other and we'll be back. So there's those two mounted together, and as you can see I've got a little selection of screws and whatnots which may come into play later. So these are pretty universal, you can have any way round you like that. And temporarily what we're going to do is fix on the back panel and the chassis, or the inner chassis, sorry, I should say the inner chassis. So this will help us first. So we're going to use some black screws that are supplied in the kit and some nuts. And again, I'm just going to do these finger tight initially. A bit boring, I know, for some. For others it would be of interest. These Modu or HiFi2000 cases are used predominantly via the DIY fraternity all around the world. Many years ago, 20 years ago, maybe more, I used to have my own cases built, I might have mentioned before. Absolute nightmare in the UK. You might have had to have first of all, a drawing, a CAD drawing. Luckily I was capable of doing that, but then they'd say, oh, you're at the back of the queue because you only want 10 or 5 or 1. Well, they wouldn't touch 1. There are two ways of mounting this inner chassis. You can mount it that way, and you've got a lip, and that gives you a gap between this chassis and the bottom plate, mounting plate, or the case externally. And I think predominantly you mount it that way because it gives you a gap which allows you to put screws and fixings through this plate, and they're hidden from view. So it sits in like that. It'll only go one way, or you could have it the other way, but there's no gap between the actual bottom case section, which looks like this. This goes onto the bottom, and you've got a gap between this, or the bottom of this, and the top of that, and it allows you 10 mil, about 10 mil to fixing screws through. So they're hidden, so you don't get that, all the screws sticking out the bottom apart from the feet. So there are countersunk screws for this, machine screws, and some nuts like that. And you just slide them up. There is a specific hole which is countersunk here, opposite to this, in the rails. For the money, I don't think you can beat it, really. You can try and go and get your own made, but realistically it's not worth it, I don't think. It's a little bit fiddly, but you'll get the gist of it. Spin that round. I hope my head's not getting in the way too much. I think in every packet of fixings there's an extra nut or two along the way, you'll find, which is always handy just in case you lose one. I think these are M4s or M5s, can't remember. Just use the one supplied. So when you get to that state, you can see they just pierce through, and this standoff just stands proud of the actual mounting rail, as it would be. I'm only nipping these up by hand just to show you the build process. How quick and simple it is. So that's in place. So now you can set out your components where you want them to go. Simple as that. Let's put the bottom on. This only goes one way. which is, it's going to go that way, I think. Yeah. So it's it'll only go one way, and all these holes line up here, 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 here. So you've got 6 fixing holes, but 2 of them are for the feet, which are here. I think it's easier we're looking for some self tappers, which amazingly, unless these are now machined, oh, they've changed this, in as much as these used to be self tapped, but now they're machine screw. Which looks like an M3. There you go. It's an M3. So we want some long M3s. Let's have a quick look. No, that's not long enough. So we want some long M3s to be able to fit the feet, which are not here. They're all M4 and M5. So I don't quite know how that works. I might be able to get round it with my own, which I have to hand. I don't think they're long enough. I've got brass. No, these are M4s. That's M3. So I want some M3 long screws. No, I have my own. Let's push on anyway. What I'm going to do. That has changed. It used to be a self tapper. But what I'm going to do is use these just to hold this in place pro tem. I wonder if that's what these are for. I wonder if these replace these. Could well be, couldn't it? I don't know. I'd rather use these in place. Much better foot. Anyway, let's push on and see how we go. If that's the case, I'd say it is an improvement. But as long as they supplied the appropriate screws to fit those bigger feet, I'll have to have a look at the instructions. If this has changed, then the instructions must have changed, I would have thought. But the fact that I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, I've got 9 of them, don't know. 10, 11, 12, 13, I've got 13, 14, I've got 14. By the by, let's push on. Let me just pop this over. So we have different feet fixings. These are now machined, good thing, as far as I'm concerned. What we'll do is pop the front cover on. Just be careful when you're unwrapping this, you don't want to scratch it. So I'm just going to gently slide that down there. Cut this out. It's a beautiful finished front. Goes on there. And the easiest way I found to do this, stand it on its end. These cutouts are for handles on the front, and obviously for other fixings for other types of cases, I would imagine. So you just pop him on there like that. Again, you need a bit of jiggery pokery to get this all to line up correctly. which is why I suggested just do that up. Not very tight at the start, just loosely. So we get our fixing screws for the front panel, which are these. They're the same screws that hold the chassis rails to the heat sinks. We should have 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's an extra one there, 5. Now these can be troublesome to get in. And what I suggest if you can is get a very long screwdriver. We'll get some light on this over here. I don't know whether that's in the way. There's a bit of light. You've got to drop one in, and via manipulation, which is a pain in the backside, but I suppose I could buy a magnetic screwdriver, really, shouldn't I? Very easy. Oh. Let's try something else then. Let's try this one in here. Oh, see, that one goes straight in, so there might be a little issue with that thread. Let's try this. Oh, it is going in. My apologies. So you just nip these up. They bottom out on the slots, so it's quite easy to centralise these screws, I think, or centralise the faceplate on the chassis as it would be, like that. One more. I think you've got some wiggle room, as they call it, to get it in. There you go. So I'm just going to line that there like that. Just nip him up. What I have found is this anodised aluminium on this faceplate is quite durable. Doesn't scratch particularly easily. I must have made, well, loads of these cases up over the years. Excuse me. Warts and all, as they say. Stuff being knocked about. Apologise about that. Clean all that up with the old fingerprints. And then you drop on the top cover. Once you've done all your wiring, put it all together. These little 3mm. Much better idea than self-tappers. Well, the self-tappers were quick, but it looks to me as though they're going to use those. Now, I've always found this, the alignment is not 100%, which is what I was saying earlier. With these machine holes, you've got to do a bit of squeezing and poking and pushing to get the holes to line up. Whereas, of course, with the self-tapper, you don't have to align anything, but as long as it's roughly in that area. It would do the job. Oops, just trying to force this apart a bit. There we go. He's in there. He's going to go in there. It's going to drop in there. Obviously, what you're trying not to do is cross the thread. nearly lost the microphone. Well, everything's going haywire. So I've actually broken the microphone. Oh dear. Oh, sorry, breaking the microphone clip. It's another job on the to-do list. That'll be okay. I can fix that. So this doesn't quite line up 100%, but it's nearly there. I think if I get an Allen key on there, it will go. Let me go and find an Allen key. So I had to push that one a bit, but he did go in alright. I'll just line these up. Still looking for some M3 long screws in the kit, but there doesn't seem to be any, and there's no way that the one supplied will fit that on there. So it would appear that what they're suggesting we do is use these. Just like that. And ball end Allen key. Like that. One more. There's a spare one. So, apart from the feet issue, which is not really an issue if they're supplying these little rubber feet, I don't particularly like those, but we use them because they supplied them. One there, one there, one there, and one there. They are rubber, they're quite forgiving, a bit compliant. Actually, thinking about it, there might be some advantage to those, because the other ones are very hard, and these new ones, a bit of ISO, have to clean those marks off. That's what I'm using. Just what I use to clean all my PCBs down with. And you end up with a chassis, lovely, that just needs a bunch of equipment inside, neat, tidy, professional. You can have this engraved if you wish. You send a PDF or whatever, whatever you'd like to have engraved on this, or if you want some machining out for a knob, they all do all that in-house for you, if you would, at additional cost obviously. But there it is, nice little case, not bad at all. Those are just a quick run through HiFi2000 2U 400, I think it's 420 deep, something like that. Ideal for, I wouldn't say a class A, but a nice AB. You can mount the power amp boards on the sides, nice bit of heat sinking, put a bit of thermal paste, take up the gap so that the heat will transfer to both. Nice job. So that's it for this one, just a quickie out of interest for those. This is Laverda, the implementer, and I'll see you next time. Keep safe, keep well, bye.